Happy Friday. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing, man? Yes, sir. We made it to the weekend again, man. I hope y'all had a beautiful week, y'all. I hope y'all had a beautiful week, you beautiful people. Man, oh, man. Yes, sir, Ski. Yes, sir, Ski. Is it Muhammad Ali's birthday today? If it's Muhammad Ali's birthday, happy birthday to the GOAT. January 17th. Happy birthday to the GOAT. Wow. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. The reason I watch boxing at all. But how's everybody doing, man? How's everybody doing out there? How's everybody doing, man? We about to get to the weekend, baby. Yes, sir. Oh, man, yeah. Just get comfortable. Set the mood, set the tone real quick. We're chilling. Oh, yeah, baby. All right, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Amen. Amen. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? And welcome to another episode of the Jayson Estrera Show, where we talk about basketball, sports, and any other topic that comes our way as accurate as possible. Now, today, I'll be honest with you guys. I will be doing a lot of yapping today. I will be doing a lot of yapping today. We will be talking about the rematch that took place between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. It was a massive game. But we'll also be talking a little bit about some comments that Kevin Durant had made on a recent podcast with Tony Allen and Zach Randolph. And I think it explains a lot about Kevin Durant and who he is as a person and as a man. And we'll also be talking about Adam Silver being on Shaq's podcast, because I think he said a lot of things in there. I can already see him getting a lot of hate in the comments, but I think he said a lot of interesting things in that podcast itself. But before we get into that, let's do our check-in, man. Hey, I was on my app. I was on my app earlier, on my Connect app earlier, because I'm just checking what my stats look like, right, in terms of fitness and all that good stuff, right? So let's see. No, that's not what I need. Where is this? Total time. This is saying December 21 to January 17. That's actually not what I need. No lie. But, in this week, I think I've like a good 24.16 miles for the week already. I think we have, for the month of January, I think we're already at 46.6 miles ran this month. So, like I said, consistency is the thing this year, right? I think it's going to be the key. It's the key to a lot of things, honestly. So trying to maintain that. Got my 3.1 in this morning, so that was cool. It's supposed to get cold this week. Let's see if I can keep my streak up. But yeah, let's see how that happens. I feel great. I hope everybody out there is doing good. We're about to get into the weekend, so let's get into it right now, man. So before we talk about some positives, positive might be a little too strong, but before we get into some of the other topics, right? I think we're at that point of the year already, and I wanted to start with, let me see, where is this? Where is this? Here it is. So, on Wednesday night, we saw the LA Clippers stomp absolutely stomp out the Brooklyn Nets. They won the game 126-67, won by 59 points. 59 points, right? Which leads me to the list of teams that I am no longer going to be watching for the rest of the year, pretty much. Brooklyn is on top of that list. They're at the top of that list for me. There's damn near no point in watching this team play. The Dennis Schroeder trade, I think, I've already said I don't like the move for Dennis Schroeder. I think it puts him in a weird spot on the Golden State Warriors, but it also takes away the primary ball handler and decision maker, playmaker, leader, or whatever. All of those things apply to Dennis Schroeder on the Brooklyn Nets. And, I don't even think, D'Angelo Russell didn't even play, but even regardless, D'Angelo Russell is a shell of himself since he was there before, right? When the D'Angelo Russell that had confidence through the roof, that's not the same D'Angelo Russell. And, shout out to Kawhi Leonard. He had his breakout game, 23 points, 2 rebounds, and a steal, 8 of 11 shooting from the field in 23 minutes. So extremely efficient out of him. But again, like I said, a breakout game. But I think this is more with the Brooklyn Nets, right? Like, these guys just aren't very good. The other team that I would add on this list would be the Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, like, awful doesn't even begin to... It doesn't even begin to explain this team. I can't even believe that they have 15 wins, right? So we have those two teams, the Brooklyn Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers. Obviously, the Washington Wizards, we don't even got to talk about it no more. Awful. I mean, just awful. Like, these guys suck. These guys are ass. And, on the other side of that for the West, right? The Utah Jazz, since the beginning of the year, have been on my shit list, and they're not getting any better. Them and the New Orleans Pelicans and damn near the Portland Trailblazers as well too, right? And for me, the only reason I'm not even adding the Charlotte Hornets to this list is because people love LaMelo Ball so much. And he really is an exciting player. Whether you like his style or like the things that he does or not, you don't know if he's going to do a tween behind the back, step back into a spin, fade away from 40 feet out, or if he's going to do some crazy pass that turns it over. Either way, it's going to get a reaction out of people. But they also are horrible. Like, those guys are also horse shit. But yeah, those for me would be the teams. 3 in the West, 1, 2, roughly 4-ish on the East. To me, the only reason the Toronto Raptors aren't on this particular list for me is because they don't have anybody. I mean, outside of RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes had just come back and had a big game the other day against the Boston Celtics. But they have some players that's fun to watch, I think. RJ, ever since he's left the Knicks, I've enjoyed watching him play more. But yeah, those teams, there is just no point in watching those 6-7 teams at this point. They're awful. Like, there's no way around it. They're just absolutely awful. And it leads me to this next topic, right? Because there's obviously been a lot of complaints about the NBA this year, right? There's been a lot of complaints. Partly, I think it's a narrative. I think the people that are very loud is a quiet minority, right? Are there issues and things that can improve with the league and the players and the way that the game is played? Absolutely. Absolutely. Could there be some more parity in the league? More variety in terms of style of play? Absolutely. But I do think that a part of that is people just are not looking, right? And the interesting part in this conversation is this. There are two teams to me that currently, as we speak, are head and shoulders above every other team in the NBA. And that's the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Those to me are the only two teams. Like, if we had to make a tier list, those teams are S tier. They are above. They are in their own category compared to the rest of the NBA. And it's sad because I think the Boston Celtics should also be in that tier. I think they should be better than every other team in the league by a mile. But we're seeing what we're seeing with the Boston Celtics, obviously, right? And to me, what makes this interesting is, outside of all the shitter teams that we just talked about, the 6 or 7 teams at the very bottom of each conference, and aside from the 2 teams at the very top, right, which are the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, every other team in the NBA, the other, 22, 21 teams in the NBA, at any given time can beat each other. It's mind-blowing, the fact that there is a LeBron James that's in the 6th seed, borderline playing again. A Steph Curry that's in the 11th seed in the West. So the days where you're gonna battle up against a 11 seed team, and they got no star players, no good players, no great players, right? Those days are now. It's like they're gone all of a sudden. The Sacramento Kings and the Phoenix Suns are 9th and 10th, and they have De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis, and the other team has Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. You see the Chicago Bulls, and they are, Zach LaVine is having a hell of a year. I know I've had some critiques about him, but he's still having a hell of a year. The league is deep right now. The league is deep, and anytime you turn a game on, you don't actually know who's going to win these games, pretty much outside of the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, because we've seen the Boston Celtics take losses to the lower teams. We've seen the New York Knicks take losses to the lower teams. We've seen the Milwaukee Bucks go on a downtrend. The Houston Rockets, to me, the only thing that's keeping them outside of the S tier, right, is the fact that they don't have a legitimate star on their team. They are number 2 in the West at 27 and 13, purely off of how they play. There is no definitive star on that team. If they did, they would be, I think, toying with the number 1 seed and being a contender. At the 4th seed, you have to deal with reigning MVP Jokic for the West. I mean, the NBA is just stacked, right? You could call the narratives what you want. I think some of those topics and conversations that they have pertain to a number of teams, but it's not all of them. So realistically, when they have these topics on 3-point shooting or styles of play, they're talking about the same 6, 7, 8 teams, forgetting to take into account the other teams. Like, are you watching the Houston Rockets? Do you watch the New York Knicks? Do you watch the Detroit Pistons or the Atlanta Hawks? Do you watch the LA Clippers or the Grizzlies or the Minnesota Timberwolves? I mean, I can see to an extent some of the critiques and some of these negative comments, but at the same time, I think it's on the fans to just watch some of these other teams. If you're stuck there watching the Boston Celtics day in and day out jack up 50 shots a game, that is on you. If you're not watching the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Cleveland Cavaliers, or the Orlando Magic, that's your problem, unfortunately. But these 5, 6, 7 teams don't define the entire league, right? And it brings me to this next point, right? And I will use Paul George and Rudy Gobert as an example. If I asked you, when you're driving to wherever you're going currently, right? If I asked you how many red cars did you see on the road, you'd maybe say 1 or 2, right? Maybe you'd say a few. But now that I asked you that, on your drive back or, driving to your next destination, I promise you'll see a lot more red cars on the road. And that's not because all of a sudden there are red cars then and there weren't any before. It's because I put that thought into your head and now you're looking for it. And the reason I bring this up when it comes to Paul George and Rudy Gobert is when the media tells you this guy is a defensive player, this guy is a great defender, defense, people will naturally highlight the defense of that player throughout the game. So when you're watching a 48-minute game and Paul George is in it, and before the game they're talking about he's such a great defender and this is his matchup and yada, 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 without even realizing it, you are now looking for his defensive stops. So now anytime he or Rudy Gobert plays good to great defense or gets a stop, gets a steal or a block, it gets highlighted. When the reality is, throughout the course of a game, even the worst defender on the team can have a moment or two where they look very good. But if you're not looking for it, you're never going to find it. See, Paul George is not the defender that he used to be. He's had a lot of injuries over the years, right? I want to highlight that first and foremost. He's had a ton of injuries over the years. And he's gotten older, right? When it comes to playing defense and you're essentially at the mercy of the offensive player, because you have to predict and shadow the things that they're doing. It's very difficult to dictate what a great offensive player is doing, right? So having injuries and getting older really can prevent you from being as good of a defender as you are, right? And in the case of a Paul George and a Rudy Gobert, I think the media has kind of brainwashed people to thinking that these guys are these unbelievable next level defenders when they're good, but they're not, to me, they're not great. Especially like Paul George is not great on defense anymore. And the funny thing about him saying being a center is boring or him having to slide to the power forward position now is When Paul George was a shooting guard / small forward, even then he was too weak for the players that he was defending. What Paul George was really good at is he's a very tall and lanky player, right? So he was very good at getting skinny on pick and rolls or when he's chasing a player, right? That's something he was always very good at. And even if he's a step or two behind, his length can make up for it, right? But you've always been able to be physical with him. That's why LeBron's always been very dominant against him because LeBron can always just kind of move him out of the way. Now that he's playing the power forward position, he hasn't gotten any stronger or not much. So he's going to have a tough time. So he's just not the defender that he's always been. And I want to circle this conversation back, right? Because like I said, if you are looking for something, you will find it. But if you're not, you're never going to find it. So case in point, the Oklahoma City Thunder. I said a week ago, I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the best basketball player in the world. I get that that's probably jarring to some people. But a huge part in it is I think he's a very good defensive player. He's a very good defensive player. And when the media and these analysts are telling you, oh, he's so great on offense. He's averaged 30 points a game the last 2-3 years. He's a mid-range god. He has a deep bag. Look at his da-da-da. Yeah, it's easy to look for those things, right? Because over the course of a game, that's what you're told to look for. That's what you're going to see. But when it comes to the Oklahoma City Thunder and they talk about defense, they talk about their team defense. And when you think of their team, you think Chet Holmgren, you think Hartenstein, you think Lou Dort, you think Alex Caruso. You never think of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the guy with the most minutes on the team, who's there for pretty much all of the important moments of the game, leading that team. Because the thing about Shai, he plays defense kind of like the way he plays offense. He just kind of floats around. He never looks like he's in a rush, but he's always at the right place at the right time. What do you say? It's jarring to you, Elijah? It's good on defense. How is it really that jarring, bro? Is it really that jarring to you? But like I said, if you don't try to pay attention to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on defense, it would almost seem like he's ending up in these situations by accident, and it's just not an accident. He understands the role that he has to play on his team. He understands the role that he plays on defense. And he does a very good job of, again, being at the right place at the right time. And I don't think he gets enough credit for it, right? I genuinely don't think he gets enough credit for it. And, you know, it's one of those things where if you start to look for it, you'll start to see it and you'll be like, oh shit, I guess he's not getting 2 steals per game by accident. Right? It becomes one of those things where, oh, he's getting steals, but he's not gambling on defense consistently, because that's always a problem, right? That's always a problem that they have, is if you're a player that gets a lot of steals, you tend to gamble on defense, but that's not the case when it comes to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right? And so I wanted to add that in there because, like I said, if you're not looking for it, you will never find it. And I think that's a huge part of what's going on right now. And I wanted to now snowball this into this next conversation, because Adam Silver was on Shaq's podcast, and he had a lot to say about the state of the NBA and so on and so forth. So I wanted to listen to that really quick, actually. So let's take a look at that together.
I think we're going through a transformative period in the league. I mean, I think it's quite remarkable. Day in and day out, you're seeing things on the floor that I think were unimaginable.
Commissioner, it was cool to kind of like look back at your path to how you got here, because you realize that storytelling has been a big part of your journey.
By almost any measure, there's never been more engagement in the NBA than there is at this moment. No time in our history. And I'm not just talking about globally. I mean, when you look at it as a global league, absolutely, it's not even close. But even domestically, but people are consuming our games in other forms. It doesn't mean that it isn't part of my job to find ways to get our fans or potential fans to watch more games.
Egghead is
I think that's very important for the health of the league. And you began this conversation around storytelling. Part of what I think we can do better is not just tell the larger stories about players and their lives and off the floor and all that, but then the nitty-gritty, what YouTube, streaming, all these different channels allow us to do. Your podcast, frankly, allow fans to better understand the game. Instead of sort of the type of commentary where, that side didn't want it tonight, or, that side not playing as, it's like really trying to understand, like, what's Doc Rivers doing with that team? Like, trying to understand why has Cleveland had the success they've had so far this season? What makes Kenny such a great coach? It's like, what's really happening?
Well, first and foremost, he does look like an egghead / a spoon. If you put a spoon up next to his face, I promise you they'd be identical. Or a thumb. He looked like a thumb for real. But, I laugh at that last part. He is on it. I'm gonna lie, that last part I thought was hilarious, right? Because he basically calling y'all stupid. Like, he basically calling all y'all fans dumb. Y'all don't know what the fuck y'all are watching. Yeah, you couldn't tell left from right. He calling y'all stupid. Like, you don't even know what's going on behind the scenes. Like, that's what I got from that little last part right there, right? But I think the beginning of that was extremely important and very telling. And honestly, it, to me, validates a lot of the things that I've been saying about what I think is going to happen with the NBA, right? Adam Silver joined the NBA as a storyteller, a part of the content group. So it's no surprise the trajectory that the NBA is heading on right now, right? He thinks that the NBA is in a transformative period, which is something I've been saying all year, y'all. It's something I've been saying all year. And I think what Adam Silver is trying to do right now is he's trying to take control of the narrative. And he's taking a look at some of the things, the complaints that have come about the league. I think because he wants to be the one that's responsible or that gets the credit for fixing the NBA. And I keep saying it. They're going to NBC. It's going to be a callback to, this is our roots. This is what we came from. The game is going to be a bit of a throwback. It's going to be a little more physical. We're going to take away some of the 3-point shots, and it's going to be Adam Silver, the knight in shining armor, that comes in and solves all of the issues that the NBA is having. And 2, 3, 4 years from now, we're all of a sudden going to be, oh my God, the NBA is so great and the NBA is so amazing. And it's going to be a part of their story, right? But that's why I'm also very adamant in saying, well, some of these things are already taking place. Everyone is talking about the Boston Celtics still. Look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. Until fans complain again. And I think that's a part of it too, right, Elijah? I think that at every stage, in every era, the NBA has always dealt with shit like this. I don't know if it was on the NBA or I don't know what it was. But in the 2000s, where everybody quote unquote loved basketball, it was super physical. People were fighting. And then we had the Malice in the Palace, which I think is a part of the reason why a lot of this is happening, right? Because that was ugly. I think everyone knows that was ugly. We don't want fans and players fighting. That's the last thing we want. And so they tried to make a shift in the league, right? People don't realize this, but when Michael Jordan came in the league, he was a ball hog. He was considered a ball hog. And his mid-range, up until he became so consistent with it that no one can deny it, to some people it wasn't a great shot because he's doing fadeaways, fallaways for no reason. He's on defense. He's shooting on 2 people, 3 people. In that time period, they were shitting on him. When Kobe Bryant was coming up, he was a ball hog. He was shooting too much. It wasn't until later on when the narrative shifted, right? Like when we're in the moment, a lot of people talk a lot of shit. I think there's some people that think that these Instagram comments or you play with Legos, that shit was funny. That's also why Isaiah Stewart's highlight reel is fucking just fighting people. And you know what I'm saying? You know, I think there's some people that see Instagram comments and think that that's representative of the entire fan base. There's a lot of folks that aren't commenting online what they think or feel. There's a lot of folks that still love watching the game of basketball. My dad has never stopped watching. He's been watching through the 90s up. He has never stopped. So clearly, there is something about the game that is still extremely enjoyable and entertaining. Even with the things that they have to fix, right? And to Adam Silver's point, the way that people view games now are totally different. It's totally different. People aren't just sitting on their couch watching games on TV anymore. It's a completely different demographic. So the way that we judge these numbers are different. Now, hopefully, in their new deal, they make it much easier to watch these games. I think that's a core problem with it. But let's call it what it is too, right? The people that aren't able to watch games on TV or on League Pass or on streaming, they're watching it via websites. And we don't have to get into that right now, but there's a lot of people talking on those chats, talking about every game, every team. It's not this perception that this is a dying game. I think this narrative is just, they've kind of just ran with it. And like I said, when they tell you to look for certain things, oh, the 3-point shot. Yeah, anytime a team shoots an unreal amount of 3-point shots, it gets highlighted. But we don't talk about when the Knicks don't even shoot 20, 15 3-point shots. We don't talk about the way the Oklahoma City Thunder are shooting. They don't talk about the fact that the Cleveland Cavaliers are averaging, I think, like over 10 less three-point shots than the Boston Celtics, but are shooting a higher percentage. No one talks about those things. And so it's important to highlight the correct things, and that's what I'm kind of here for, to try to direct y'all into some of the things that I am seeing with the game of basketball, because it's a sport that, one, I really do love, and it's one that I've watched for a very, very long time. Rich the Swish, everyone starts somewhere. Good luck with your channel, dude. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. That's love. That's love right there. I appreciate you so much, man. So I say all that to say, I think that the game is in a great spot. And, you know, to go back to the Oklahoma City Thunder, right, in that game last night, I think it started with the flashy outfits and the tunnel walks and all of these things with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And people want to talk about aura, right? But truthfully, I think he is growing into his stardom. He's becoming more vocal. You're seeing more and more of his personality out there in front of the camera and on the mic. And moving forward, when we look at who's going to be the next up, right? When LeBron, Steph, and KD are out, which I think is also funny because so many people hate Kevin Durant and a lot of people also hate LeBron. So I just think that sentiment is funny. A lot of fake haters out there, right? They just need someone to hate on. But I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is someone that I see growing to take that spot, right? We'll see if Luka can get there. When I see him in front of a camera, sometimes it almost looks a little awkward, like he doesn't want to be there. So we'll see how he's able to grow into that spot. Anthony Edwards and Ja Morant have a couple years left to try to grow into that dude. I think Jason Tatum is pretty much there in terms of the way he handles the media and how outspoken he can be at times in terms of the game, right? But I think the game is in a great spot. I think we have players that are great at different aspects of the game. You know, we have a Paolo Banchero, right? We have a Ja Morant and an Anthony Edwards. You know, the list goes on and on. We have Chet Holmgren on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Contrast him with Wemby. There's a ton of positives in the game of basketball. And maybe it's just the way that the basketball community has kind of always been. It's always been this kind of toxic, negative community. But there are a ton of great things going on in the NBA. And I don't want to go an episode without ever highlighting that because, you know, Adam Silver referenced Bob Cousy. He said Bob Cousy calls him all the time and says he hates the broadcast because they act like this is easy. They act like tween into a step back three is easy, or trying to beat some of these guys off of the dribble is easy. Right? There's some people that think that this is 2K, and I've mentioned that before. Like, they think, oh, this is the matchup, this is the person that's in front of you, you're supposed to do certain things every time, and that's just not the case. It's just not the case. Guys now are as good as they've ever been. It just is what it is. The NBA is deep. At any given night, outside of Cleveland and the Oklahoma City Thunder and the bottom teams in each conference, the bottom 3-4 teams in each conference, the other 21, 22 teams can beat anyone on any given night. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. No Lance Stevenson, though. Everyone wants to be Braun or Paul George. Where my Lance Stevensons at? Hey, man, someone's going to come out at some point. I think, you know, it's funny. I said I'm not gonna watch the Utah Jazz anymore. But I think if Colin Sexton were to get on a big market team, I think his popularity would go through the roof. If Colin Sexton can get on one just a big market team, and even better than that, a contending team, he could be the next guy up, because he is goddamn annoying on the court when you watch him. Like, he is absolutely irritating to watch on the court, and in a good way, in a good way, in a good way. But I just realized that I didn't even go over that OKC Cleveland game for real. So let's talk about it, right? So the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Oklahoma City Thunder ended up beating up on the Cleveland Cavaliers 134-114, and it's not exactly what we anticipated after last week's game, right? And to me, the huge part in this, right, was the first quarter. I thought the first quarter in this game was everything, right? Because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander started to go in attack mode as soon as Donovan Mitchell got off the floor. He just kept attacking the rim. And, Shai does a great job of not taking too many heat check shots. There was a sequence in the first quarter. I think he hit like 2 or 3 layups in a row, right? He drove, got a layup in a row. And having the mindset of, okay, they're going to now load up on me, kicks it out on the next possession, and they get a 3 to keep that momentum going instead of taking a heat check step back 3, right? So just smart plays all the way around. If Colin got on a team like the Mavs, Spurs, or Lakers, his merch would go stupid. Yeah. Oh, 100%. And half of the fans are gonna do it just because they like him. A good portion of them are gonna do it just because they think the name Sexton is funny. So, yeah, I think you're 100% right, Elijah. If he were to go on like a big team, his jersey sales would go stupid. It would go stupid. And plus, I think he got a lot of personality to give too. So hopefully he can get on a contending team one of these years, because I think he's super good at basketball. But back to the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? They did an unbelievable job this time around of beating that 2-3 zone that the Cleveland Cavaliers tried, right? So the last time, I want to say they pulled it out heavy in the third quarter of last week's matchup. And the way that they were, the way that they kind of ran the zone was, all right, cool. But this time around, the Oklahoma City Thunder did a great job of Shai would try to dribble into the 2 players, kick it out. That player then drives, and they did a great job of consistently driving towards the middle, towards the free throw line. They give it to the wing player. That player drives towards the middle, and they either have a kick out to the opposite wing or the same corner that they came from, right? So that happened on a number of occasions for the Oklahoma City Thunder. So they were able to get themselves out of that zone defense that the Cleveland Cavaliers were playing, because to me, that zone defense was pretty much what won them the game last time, right? It killed all of the momentum for the Thunder, and they were playing catch-up from that point on. And obviously, the other part in it was the Thunder just shot an incredible, let's take a look at this right here. Where is this? They were just incredible from the three-point line last night. Lou Dort is specifically, they were 18 for 53 and three-point shots last night, which is 34%, but Lou Dort was 6 of 9. Isaiah Joe was 4 of 7. Alex Caruso was 2 of 2. So there were just some guys that were really hitting some shots. And even that, I think, is funny, to go back to our conversation earlier, right? The Thunder put up 53-point shots last night. there was no problem with the game whatsoever. There was no problem with the flow of the game. They were taking very good 3-point shots. It wasn't a bunch of dribble, step back, right? So that's a huge factor in it. But everyone that's complaining about 3-point shots didn't look too bad last night. So, Oklahoma City Thunder got their get back. And for the Cleveland Cavaliers, I don't know if it was just the way that the guards were playing the pick and rolls, but the Cavaliers went away from their pick and roll very early in the game. It was a lot of one-on-one. Guys were just kind of going solo, trying to play everybody off the dribble, and it really hurt them in the end, right? So I think those were kind of the factors that led to this blowout. And then, like I said, Shea was just incredible. 40 points, 8 assists, 3 rebounds. Lou Dort shot the shit out the ball. So all of those things combine, and you get a blowout. It would be nice to see these two teams go at it in a whole series, though. It would be nice. It really would be. So we'll see what happens moving forward. But obviously we wanted a closer game. But at least for me, it was nice to see the Oklahoma City Thunder get their get back, because that was a hell of a game and a way to lose it last time too. OKC is overrated. Overrated? What are we talking about, Bruce? Overrated how so? They have probably the best player in the league right now, MVP. They have the best defense, a historically good defense. I think the only thing missing for them, realistically, is a legitimate second option, which Jalen Williams is slowly, trying to fill that spot. But that. You could see them losing in the second round. Yeah, but to me, that don't mean that they're overrated, though. Because you're talking about matchups, because then you get to that point, you're talking about how they match up against another team, and honestly, if it wasn't for that foul last year, right, they would have had another game. I think that was Game 6 that they lost last year against the Dallas Mavericks, right? So if it wasn't for that foul by Shai Gilgeous, they probably would have had another game to try to attempt to get into the Western Conference Finals. And at that point, you don't know what that matchup looks like with them against the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? I mean, you also got to take into account this Thunder team is very young, right? In the playoffs, you have to know how to play half court. They might have the best half court guard in the entire NBA in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, though. Like I said, I think for me, the biggest thing about them is they're very young and inexperienced, right? So would it shock me if they lose again in the playoffs this year? No, it wouldn't shock me at all. Does that mean that they're overrated? No, I think it's just a part of the process that you have to go through to become a really good team. We haven't even seen Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein on the floor together for this team. And you have to take into account the fact that those two guys now have to figure out how to play together, along with the other 3 players on the floor with them. So to your point, once it gets to the playoffs, maybe there is going to be, that transition that could get them a little messed up and they could run into a bad matchup. But I don't think that means that they're overrated. I agree. SJ is the MVP. SJ is not that young. No, that's facts. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander definitely is not that young, but their team is. Their team is pretty young. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is 26 years old. He's 26 years old. Historically, guys don't win their first championship until they're 27, 28, 29. So if you go by that metric, Bruce, he turns 27 this July 12th of this year, right? 27 going into next year. Let's say they get into the Western Conference Finals and lose, or even in the second round and lose. Next year, after they've had 2 runs under their belt, right? After leading the Western Conference as the number 1 seed in consecutive years, okay, well, if you keep losing in the second round or in the Western Conference Finals and you don't seem to be improving in the playoffs, then we can start having that conversation. But I still think they need to go through the process, right? So, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they lose, but I don't believe that means that they are overrated as well. So, but I think it's exciting, man. We got a bunch of different teams that are in the mix. You know, the funny thing is, if the Orlando Magic didn't get any injuries this year, they could have been what the Oklahoma City Thunder were last year. They could be, as we speak right now, they could have been damn near at the top of the Eastern Conference. They could have been, flirting with being the number 1 seed, but they've had a ton of injuries, and they've dropped a little bit. But again, another young team. We got some young talent in the NBA. We got some young talent. But before I get on out of here, I wanted to bring this topic up for sure. Let's take a look at this. Cause I had spoken, I think it was earlier this week or the end of last week, about Kevin Durant and his personality type potentially being a problem when it comes to being this number 1 option type of player and being the dominant guy on a team, right? And there was someone in the comments talking about how KD was always wanted to be a coach, and it kind of lends itself to the way that he thinks about the game and not being super aggressive at times because he wants to play properly. And to add on to that, there's this little tidbit from this podcast that I think explains even more as to why Kevin Durant is the way that he is.
You also went to 3 high schools. Explain that transition, man.
How many high schools you went to?
Shit, 2.
Yeah, so I went to the community school, the public school in my neighborhood the first half of the year. And it just wasn't it for me. You know what I'm saying? It was just too much going on, and it's too many kids in school. It's too many cliques. The basketball team was all right. I wanted a little bit more competition, so it was private school. The prep thing started to kind of boom around that time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's how I was, where I was coming up. All the good players were coming out of public schools, but you give a couple $dollars to a kid here, and they started, the new schools started to pop up and take the kids, and so, but they was playing the national schedules too, though. They was going and playing in front of them coaches that I wanted to play in front of. We played in front of NBA scouts when I was in 10th grade. You know what I'm saying? Just playing, going into a charter school, and we traveling, playing games around the country, up and down the East Coast. So I just wanted more exposure. I wanted to just focus more just on basketball. I went to school, it was like 12 people in my class. In a public school, it's 30 kids in there. There's a lot of shit going on. I just wanted to focus and not get bothered by none of that stuff. So I just kept switching schools. And I went to Oak Hill just for the same reason, more exposure. We playing on national TV.
So I genuinely, right? I genuinely think that right there explains a lot about Kevin Durant, the person. He is just naturally a nomad, right? He's just someone that is always just wants to be moving place to place, right? When something feels off or something throws him off, he's like, all right, let me get up out of here. And I think there are some fans that have faulted him for that over the years, but like I was saying, I think it's just a part of his personality and who he is, right? When it comes to understanding some of the decisions that he has made and why he's done some of the things that he's done. I think this is just who he is as a person, and he honestly probably can't even help it. He probably doesn't even, there's probably no rhyme or reason for why he does some of the things that he does outside of it just ran its course, or I just want a different vibe, or I just don't want to be here anymore. I think it serves a really good insight into, him and how he is as a human being. Like I said, I think it just explains a little bit as to how he's kind of conducted himself in the NBA and switching from team to team and just from different situations. Because Oklahoma City Thunder to Golden State was a basketball thing. He's like, I just wanted to go and play basketball the right way. And I think once the Draymond Green situation had happened over there, he's like, all right, well, I'm out. Right. And I'm sure he was probably already on the fence about it, the way that they were talking about the credit and, some of those things that were going on already. He was probably a little bit creeping to the door trying to get out. But the Draymond situation, he was like, all right, I'm not feeling this. I'm going to need to get up out of here. Goes to Brooklyn. That situation happens. I think he's like, all right, this ain't the vibe. I'm out of here. And I think, like I said, that's just who he is, right? It's just who he is, right? You can only get so mad at the end of the day. You could only get so mad. Now, I want to talk about this, and then we'll get up out of here, because I think that this is super interesting to talk about as well too.
I have him as the third best player ever. The third best player ever, and he's my favorite player of all time. He's my favorite player of all time.
You keep saying that, but then you keep having these discussions about...
Because it's sports. I'm not biased. I got married on 12/12/24. 24, 12 and 12 is 24. And so Kobe. I got married on that date for a reason. I'm a Kobe fan, but I'm just not gonna. I love greatness overall. I just love greatness. I like how it thinks. I like how it moves. Right? If I have to pick one in a one-on-one battle, I'm taking Kobe all day. This is not about. But you still have careers. Kobe didn't get to finish his career. He started off his career slow, right? And he ended his career on an Achilles. That counts.
And I bring this up because of this, right? I think that there are some folks out there that have this conversation, and that's why it gets so heated sometimes, I think, is because there are some people that can't separate favorite from best, right? There are some people where, believe it or not, there are some people out there that consider those two things the same thing, damn near. And it frustrates some folks who are like, how could you think like that? When they come out with these outrageous names and they have reasons and all this stuff, and they're like, how is that even possible? And it's this constant back and forth, right? Because like I've been very vocal about the fact that I am not a LeBron James fan. I'm not. I think a huge reason is him dubbing the Knicks, and then I later figured out what actually happened in that situation. But still, right? Wasn't a fan of it. The flopping at 6'8", wasn't a fan of it. And so I'm very open about that, right? And I still have Michael Jordan as the greatest player of all time. But if someone thinks LeBron is the greatest player of all time, I genuinely, at this point in my life, I don't actually have a problem with that anymore. There was a time where I would have, but I genuinely don't, because I could see why someone would think that. I have my reasons. Somebody else will have theirs, and that's totally fine. But the way that some people approach these GOAT debates, to me, is just, it's funny. It's funny. How did Arenas end his career on a bunch of knee injuries? On a bunch of knee injuries. In his prime, though, he was cold as fuck. In his prime, he was giving everyone's favorite player 30, 40s. Like if somebody don't have Kobe in their top 5, at least to me, I think you're tripping. Like, genuinely, I think you're tripping. And I get it. There's like a bunch of names that you could throw out there, and there's a bunch of players before I'd even been born that you could throw out there. But like you have to, and I think there was another point that he was talking about where, you have to put context behind some of these rings, right? Like Kobe's rings, he has what? He has 5, right? He has 5. 3 of them are with Shaq. Where even if he was the leader of the team in terms of leading by example, because I'm sure that team feared Shaq as the leader, Shaq was the best player on that team. And I kind of liked his analogy of, okay, well, he gets a gold trophy, Kobe gets like a silver trophy. For Jordan and Pippen, Jordan would get the gold trophies for all 6 of them. Scottie would get the silver, and so on and so forth. Because I think it's good to put championships in the correct context, because some people like to use them to bunny hop over certain players, when I could watch a certain player and be like, that there's no way that guy's better than this guy. Just from the eye test alone. I get we could talk championships or they had this run, but when you watch that player over the course of 82 games, I could tell you who's better. And I get it. There are some people that don't want to account for the regular season, right? Like Bruce, you just said it, right? You think that the Oklahoma City Thunder are a regular season team, but you can't discount what they're able to do in the regular season. There's something happening in the teams where they can't translate it for whatever reason into the playoffs, but you can't just pretend like the regular season didn't happen. Yes, you say Bron won 5 different places, but Kobe won 5, but neither is better. Like to your point, Elijah, we could have this back and forth like all day long. Like you just can't take away the regular season. That's just me. Like, I get that there's players that have phenomenal play postseasons, but like Jimmy Butler, for example, if you were to just grade him on his regular season, he wouldn't be that great. I'm not gonna lie, I've been in and out of sleep for the past 20 minutes, and I just tried to jump back in combo. You're good, Brody. You're good. Going to DC for the inauguration. Woo! You stay safe out there, brother. You stay safe out there. I know motherfuckers gonna be rowdy. You stay safe, my dude. You stay safe. Tell me how many red cars you see. Take a note of how many red cars you see and let me know on Monday. Let me know on Monday, dog. Let me know on Monday. But, but yeah, man, I think that's going to do it for me for today. Yeah. So listen. Got up like the Undertaker. I'm weak. But listen, man. Look out for some of those things that you don't typically look for when it comes to these games, right? Like if there's an offensive player, try to watch their defense. Like it's so easy to cherry pick certain guys because players are going to make mistakes over the course of a game. It's so easy to cherry pick, and there's certain players where they have these long ass videos on mistakes that they make. I mean, yeah, you're on the road right now, right? You're on the road right now, right? Right now, on the road right now, heading there. Let me know how many red cards you see. Cause I bet you, if I ask you right now, how many red cards did you see before? You probably say none, or you might say one or two. Right? It's that psychology thing. If I put it into your brain, you'll start looking for it. Right? You'll start looking for it. It's no different from like It's no different from like if you're in a relationship, right? And one person and someone's like, "Oh, I think you cheating on me." Right? Whether that person is cheating or not, the other person is gonna make things. All right, let's say they're not. The other person who keeps thinking that their partner is cheating, they're gonna start finding shit that would make it look like someone is cheating. You are going to find what you're looking for. Actually, 67. You a damn lie. You a damn lie. But, you know, it's just one of those things, right? You're going to find what you're looking for. So, you know, if you're looking for a motherfucker to not play defense, you will find it. You will find it. So be mindful out there when y'all watching the games, man. Keep up, stay safe. Everybody in LA, stay safe. Elijah, you stay safe for that inauguration, big dog, because it's gonna get rowdy. So keep your head up, stay safe, head on a swivel. Always know where the exits are at. Always figure out who the most dangerous person is in the room, and you will be all right. I'm the one where when I feel tense, I immediately exit. I'm one of those people. I'm not one of those, you will never catch me in the middle of the brawl with my phone. No, you will not. I'm already halfway home. I'm one of those. I'm one of those. But everybody stay safe out there, man. I appreciate y'all as always for hanging out with me. Y'all are the fucking greatest. Enjoy y'all weekend. Y'all have fun. Y'all have a great time. Relax. Kick it. Thank you so much, Bruce, for hanging out. Thank you so much, Elijah, for hanging out. Y'all could have been anywhere on the internet, but y'all were here with me. And I appreciate y'all for that, man. So thank you so much. I'll see y'all on Monday, man. Stay safe. Stay safe. I'll see y'all later, man. Peace, peace, peace.